I'm Lisa Meller. For those of you who maybe don't know me, one of the vice chairs for Masters Dive. I'm so excited to be able to co-host all of this for you all and to be with you and to see you. Today we were supposed to actually meet up at Ohio State University if we were going to the spring championships. That was why we picked this date and time. It just seemed appropriate because, you know, we were pretty sad that we couldn't meet in person. So we're going to go through a few little housekeeping notes as well. First of all, just to make sure that we've got folks on video, wave if you're having a great day. Just do it. Just do it. Smiley faces. There we go. And if you're able to use, if you know some of the tools down at the bottom of Zoom, if you haven't been on, you should see a toolbar. There's one with reactions and it has a little smiley face and you can put like thumbs up and you can clap for things and do some neat things. Chat, however, we're going to use. So you should see chat pretty much in the middle. Do you guys see that? The chat button with like the little speaker thing, little speaker square. If you click that, you can see the running chat. You can chat actually to everyone and everyone will see the run of the chat, or you can just hit chat to a private person and have a little sidebar conversation that not everybody else will see. So you can play with that, which would be a lot of fun. You know, and we'll actually be doing some question and answer that way so that we're not all trying to talk all over one another. So if you have a question as we're going and as we get to Q&A, put it in the chat. My friend just to the left on the screen, Jeannie here, is actually from my work team and not one of my dive teammates. And she's going to be our helper. So if you have a technical question, you have some issues, anything like that, you put them in the chat. While I'm kind of running and keeping things going here, Jeannie's going to be our helper. And she's also going to insert some links and some resources. We're going to have some fun. So as a reminder, oh, actually, I take that back. There's one other thing. If you want to play with the speaker, with the view, part of what Aau Leaks was saying is that we've got up at the top of your screen, you should see, say, either you say speaker view and it'd be a box with ... and it'll show who's speaking large. Or if you want to see everyone, click it and it'll go to gallery view. I love what Karen's doing. She's taking a photo of everybody. That is so cute. I love it, love it. So today, part of the fun of this call is to reconnect for some of us to kind of get re-engaged and hopefully to get inspired because we've got some comeback to do once we get back on the boards again. I know it's a crazy time. It's a lot of time of transition. So maybe we'll have some fun. We'll have some takeaways. So we've got some really cool guest speakers that you guys have seen in the agenda to get us all lined up. We are going to record this. We will share it. So it will send out a post-event email with some of the links, some of the resources. So if you're not super paying attention, aren't sure how to save chat down and want to have a chance to look at some of the links, we will have all of that afterwards. So don't worry about it. At the end of the hour as well, we're going to have some additional Q&A time and chit chat time just to kind of reconnect and see what everybody's up to and what we're doing. So first to get started, we have a poll. So Jeannie's going to launch the first poll. Jeannie, if you can put that one up. How would you describe your hair these days? So if you can see it, start answering on the poll on your side. Is it better than ever? Oh my gosh, I have an underground stylist. Same as ever. And I think really that means that you probably just had a really long ponytail or you were bald. So there's no change there. The no change is neither of those answers worked for me above. I'm getting a bit unruly, or oh my God, I look like Animal from the Muppets. I'm starting to feel like I'm in that Animal from the Muppets phase. How about you guys? Mostly it looks like people are getting a little bit unruly. Yep. Awesome. All right. Okay, so for how many of you guys that was like your first poll? Wave if that was your first poll you've ever done on something like this. Cool. This could be fun, right? We could play with this. This could be fun. Okay, so let's stop and we'll share those results. Everybody's had a chance to see. Yeah. All right. And Jeannie, how about we go to the next polls? We're going to go to the next polls, and these are actually going to help our speakers as well. So kind of get a sense and a feel for where everybody's at. See if you can answer these questions too. How would you describe your physical health right now? You're in totally awesome shape and you're ready to chuck that front 2.5 or your gainer 2.5 on 1 meter, right? You're maybe maintaining okay, or are you feeling a bit weak, a bit out of shape, or are you totally out of shape, a couch potato, and the best you can do is to visualize diving? And then in the second one, how optimistic do you feel about returning to the boards and being meet ready for July? Because it is possible. Answers are, I can totally do this, bring it on. I know I can, but I got some concerns. I'm not so sure. I don't really know what to think, or I'm definitely concerned. So let us know how you're feeling. And it's okay to, wherever you are is wherever you are in the season. We could probably ask this question at any time in the season. Looks like a lot of you guys are doing a pretty good job here. Oh yeah, the final one was no way, ain't gonna be possible. We got 3% in there, so we got some work to do. Awesome. All right, and again, if you guys have comments, feel free to also put them, back into the chat. All right.
Yeah, I'm sharing the results now.
Great, thanks, Jeannie. Everybody has a chance to see. And for our speakers, good start. All right, well, let's go on and let's get Jerry. Let's get him to jump in and unmute Jerry.
I unmuted myself.
Right on, perfect. All right, so we're hoping that Jerry can launch us off with maybe some updates from USA Diving. Tell us a little bit about what is happening, and then we'll go into some Q&A.
You know, I think that we're all in the same boat. USA Diving is having a very difficult time trying to keep everyone motivated, keep interest in diving, keeping in communication with the clubs. We're also trying to figure out what's next for diving. And the frustrating part is I don't think anyone knows right now. This virus is really putting the hurt on everything. And, we still don't know how social distancing is going to affect sports in general. I have some people say, well, swimming, they say chlorine will kill the virus and we should be fine. It's not going to be a problem. But, when I think about it, I know at the practices that we have in Montgomery Dive Club, I'm practicing with, on each board, there's 10 or 12 kids and, we're in line. And you know what? Honestly, even though I'd love to lie and say it's all good, we're not social distancing. I mean, and there's really, I don't think that there's a viable way to do it the way I think that the governments and the people that run these programs would like to see it. So I have some concerns that we're going to see positive changes soon, although I'm eternally optimistic that we'll do whatever we can to try to make this work. I figure worst comes to worst, we're just going to wait for George's pool to open, and we're all just going to descend on George's house and use the 1 meter board, and we'll all have to just learn how to use a 4 meter tower instead of the 5 meter. So, I mean, that's where we stand right now. I talked to Lisa and Ron, multiple times per week to try to determine which direction we're going to go. And, in all honesty, at this point in time, we don't know. It's in our charter that we're supposed to hold a spring and a summer meet every year. So, we're giving it the best possible shot we can to hold this meet. Some of the concerns we have, and you could see the poll that we had sort of hinted about it, was we want to make sure that people are at least somewhat prepared, or at least keeping themselves in shape. So even though they might not dive their normal list, if we do have a meet and they do want to dive, you can get 4, 6, 8 dives, whatever, however many dives you have to do in, but they don't have to be your hardest dives or your regular list. We'll get a meet in the books and we'll be good to go. But we're not going to know. We're not going to know until at least June 1. We want to get some indication from you guys, what's reasonable as far as, how much lead time you want or need. with the caveat that we know it's not perfect and we're not going to have as much lead time as any of us want. The other option we have is I have Ron inquiring at Northern Arizona University to see if we could possibly change our dates to a bit later in the summer, maybe delay it by 2 or 3 weeks to see if that might give us a little bit of additional time. And we don't have an answer from them yet either. The good news is supposedly the maintenance that they were doing on their pool, usually they do it in August. They started the maintenance during the shutdown. So the pool is probably empty right now. They're getting whatever repairs and maintenance that they need done. And, we're waiting to hear whether they're going to be up and running. Arizona on a whole is in a lot better shape than New York and some of these other states. But with that said, they're still, not in phase one of the government's, gating process to get everything open. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get to through stage one in order to allow us to go back to gyms opening and athletic facilities opening. So it's sort of a crapshoot. We don't know right now. And, it's going to be our job to keep you guys apprised of what may be going on.
Jerry, we're seeing in some of the chats too that some of the states have extended all the way through May. So it was just announced today. So it is going to vary by state, and we'll do the best that we can. And I know we were looking to maybe make a call on this meet based on June 1. Hopefully give everybody at least 6 weeks to get into the pool again. Jerry, you're muted. Hang on. There we go.
Yeah. Maybe we can also try to get some feel from people if we do have an opportunity to move the meet. I mean, it's not something that I necessarily want to do because we have a lot of stuff in place already. But if we do have the opportunity to do so, would that work for people? I mean, I know August is tough to begin with because, people schedule vacations around these meets. And, I don't want to impact, 50% of the participants if I don't have to. And you know what, we may come up. I mean, we don't know what we're going to do at USA Diving. I mean, it's always possible that we may just decide that it doesn't make sense to move forward for this year. I mean, I know that where was it? One of the countries in where's Amsterdam? The Netherlands. They've canceled swimming for the entire year. So, we don't know if that's just the first domino falling and we're going to see this moving on. If USA Diving decides to do that, along with a lot of the other NGBs for their particular sports, we're not going to have a choice. It's automatically canceled.
Yeah, we'll see. So we'll also, just so that we can kind of stay on track, we're going to revisit this at the end of the hour when we go to more Q&A, and we can talk more about the meet schedules, and we have some of the additional USA Diving announcements, just from the Masters, and some other business. So we will definitely address that. What I want to do now is to bring one of our very special guest speakers. We're really honored to have Dr. Megan Nair join us for mental fitness and managing change, exercising your resilience muscles. So for those of you who don't know Megan, I feel very honored and privileged to have actually called her teammate, even though she was an elite athlete training at the Olympic level when I was literally doing cannonballs into the pool when I was in dive lessons. So she's a rock star for joining us. So let me read a little bio. Dr. Megan Nair is the founder of Nair Performance Strategies. It's a company that specializes in individual, team, and organizational performance with businesses and athletic teams. Her work includes enhancing performance and productivity, developing effective leaders, as well as selecting and retaining employees. She's a world-class competitive diver whose accomplishments include being an Olympian on 3 and 10 meter, a world springboard champion, 15-time USA Diving National Champion, 8-time SEC and NCAA champion. So the woman knows what she's talking about. Anyway, she's going to help take us through some exercises about mental resilience. So take it away, Megan.
Unmute. All right.
There we go.
I don't know whether you're driving or I am there, Lisa. Okay.
Sorry on that piece.
Well, thank you, Lisa. I'm really honored and appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you. You know, I have to be honest and say, you know, Masters was particularly on my radar, and what I mean by that is none of my body parts would have liked the idea of me ever diving again after I got done diving. But I just really love this population of people that I've gotten to know more over the past several years than just, I love your passion and I love your commitment. I love your sense of humor, and I just feel really blessed as somebody who's diving well for a long time. Such really amazing people, still so committed and passionate about this sport. So I just really want to thank you for that. And so I jumped at the chance when Lisa, you know, I've loved having Jerry Dunn on the board, and I jumped at the chance when Lisa said, hey, do you want to present to the Masters Divers? I said, woohoo, I would love to. So again, thank you. You know, we're going through an interesting time right now, right? None of us has the playbook on this, and none of us really knows exactly what the future holds. And so it's really calling upon our need to be resilient. And one of my friends and colleagues has done a tremendous amount of writing and presenting and researching on the subject of resilience. And so a lot of what I'm going to be presenting tonight is actually comes from a lot of her material, dovetailed with some of my material as well. And so I'm gonna, do you want me to do the share screen, Lisa? Do you?
Yeah, Jeannie will help you screen share.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom, you can see the share screen in the middle.
Yep.
Yep, go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Then you'll have to select which screen you want to share or just a window.
Okay, I'm officially confused now. So I don't know what you're saying because I can't see what you're saying.
We're seeing just you at the moment.
Okay. It came up on my computer to share.
And you hit that, so hit screen share, and then usually there's a green outline all the way around the screen which you're showing on.
Okay, let's try again. Okay. Sorry, I'm still.
While she's doing that, she's working on it, there's some really cute comments in the chat here. I've got one from Jennifer, which is awesome. She says, Jennifer Mangum says, Megan Dyer is why I wanted to be a diver.
That. Okay, you're not allowed to make me cry when I'm about to present. That's not fair. Okay, so optimize screen for, no, I don't need any of that. So the only two things down there, Jeannie, are share computer sound and optimize screen for video clip.
When you click your share screen, you should have an option to share your desktop, a whiteboard, or Word.
Yeah.
Well, we may need to provide the slides post-program. If there's any way that you can kind of talk us through it. I know, Megan, that's not nearly as optimal as we would have liked, but.
There we go. Something's happening.
Okay.
We're viewing it now. We're seeing your web browser screen.
Okay, so let's see if this works. So are you now seeing?
There we go.
Did that work?
Yeah. Yep, that worked.
Okay. Yeehaw. Okay.
Are you guys, quick question. Is everyone else seeing the screen? Because if not, you may need to toggle. Okay, good. Perfect.
Okay, so we think a lot about our muscles, right? And what we're strong for. And a lot of times we think about we just think about physical strength when we think about muscles. But learning to thrive in this time, it's very turbulent, and again, none of us has the playbook. So just want to talk to you a little bit about what resilience is. A lot of times it's described as bouncing back, but the definition that Linda uses is the ability to deal with high levels of challenge and disruption while maintaining high levels of effectiveness and well-being. You think about you people that live out in California, and you talk about earthquakes, and sometimes we talk about like just, little rumblers, right? So there's just little rumblers, and they might be kind of wavy, or they might be really rocky or shaky, like rock and roll versus kind of wavy, or there might be a higher level of seismic activity, and they're more significant. So what we're really looking at is how disruptive is the event, how long does it go on, and how quickly can you adapt to it in order to get back into a fairly high level of effectiveness and well-being. I don't know about you guys, but we're about a month into this. I think California went in a little sooner, but here at Georgia, we're about a month into this. And it took me that first couple of weeks of like, okay, trying to get all the technology and everything figured out to do my whole world online, and also kind of managing my clients, and dealing with just the complete upheaval to the world that I knew and that you guys all knew, and how quickly we were able to adapt and create a flow again in terms of our lives. So I think for some of us, it's been really challenging, and so it's really about thriving in adversity and using challenge to grow stronger. I don't know about you, but I've started doing this thing called COVID commitments. And my tendency is to go, oh, well, I kind of have some open space here, so here's the 1,000 things I want to get accomplished. But while also recognizing that maybe that's an unrealistic list. I can't get to every single thing I've been putting off, just because this is emerging. And so I think it's important to be realistic. But, really, it could be a very good opportunity to increase your tolerance for change. And so here's that kind of graph about challenge and recovery, like the challenge begins and how much energy is getting spent before the challenge resolves. And what we're growing to understand, as Jerry was just talking about, is, hey, we don't know. It's not like a hurricane that comes, or even an earthquake, or like today we were, possibly having tornadoes in the Georgia area, the Atlanta area. Well, it's not like it just came ashore and and then we just all dive in and start cleaning up and managing from there. We don't know when this challenge is going to end. So that creates a different layer of complexity with dealing with it, right? And so, we all have these mental models. We all have these expectations. Like, I'm dealing with a lot of athletes right now who are seniors in high school or seniors in college, and they were expecting to go to NCAAs or their high school state meet, or their, they were expecting to go to prom or graduation, or go to college in the fall, or start their jobs, start their new lives. And so that's how life was going to go all up until about March, right? And then, so we build these mental models of the world, and they lead us to these expectations. And these expectations may or may not be realistic. And they may be, like, how many of us have had a crystal ball out going, well, this is going to be over, by June, or maybe that's a thing, or hopeful thing, or what we really want to have happen. But we really have to look at the role of expectations, because one of the things that takes up a lot of our energy is that gap between what our expectations are and what the reality is. So, expectations serve as our anchor, but when our reality doesn't match that, And if it's a smaller gap, it doesn't take as much energy, but when it's these paradigm level gaps, it can take a tremendous amount of energy. I'm really dealing with a lot of people who, like, this is what was supposed to happen and this isn't what's happening. And like, going through some levels of grief around all of that. And so I think for all of us, we have to look at what this challenge is and what our expectations are and what our hopes and wishes as compared to the reality that day after day seems to change. Like we can't even, there's no consistent reality either. And so it's just takes a lot of energy to figure all that out. And we have these 4 sources of energy, which is your quantity of energy, your physical energy, your mental energy, which is your focus, and your emotional energy, which is your quality of energy. And then your spiritual energy, and this is not necessarily religious, but it's the force or the alignment of your energy. Like what are you aligned with? And you guys are all very passionate about diving and have stayed involved in diving for a very, very long time. And so you're really aligned with it. And so when you're talking about, you didn't get to get together to have your spring meet, we don't know about what the summer meet holds, right? And like this is your family and an important part of your world, and that's just sort of been sent off its axes. And we all don't know when we're going to be able to get together on a pool deck again. And boy, isn't that something that was something that, again, it's just a part of our cadence of our life, spring and then summer and then, maybe going to some other meets. And so, we have to look at our challenges and adjust to the situations and look at what our energy supply is and what's getting tasked and what's getting depleted, and figure out how to replenish that. So we have these like micro challenges or macro. This is really a macro challenge, right? This is really rocking all of our worlds. And then we can also look at on a daily basis, what are the micro boosts? What are the things that can help boost our energy? And Lisa, keep me honest about time here.
I will give you the 2-minute warning right now. You're good. You got another at least 5 or 6.
Okay. So we have various forms of these energies and they're all interconnected, right? And so I already talked about this a little bit. Resilience helps because if you have strong resilience muscles, then it takes up ultimately less energy and you recover quicker, as compared to if you have some strong resilience muscles and some weak ones. And the muscles are these different resilience characteristics or different, resilience muscles that we talk about, which is positivity, confidence, connection, creativity, priority, structure, and experimenting. So I had to set out a little self-assessment, and this has both the energy and, the calming elements and the resilience muscles on it. So, we've all got them. Some are stronger than others. And so during this time, maybe you think a bit like you take the self-assessment that Lisa's going to share with you and see, what's strong, what are you really, what are you really using? What are your go-to things? And what are ones that need to be developed? Like, I'll just, share with you my strong muscles. Like one of them is structure. Okay, I can take a situation and kind of take the complexity of it and go, okay, this is how I'm going to organize this. And this is what I'm going to do. And another thing is figuring out what my priorities are. And so like, just when I just said, I could think of 1,000 things I would like to do during this kind of like interesting period, I need to just focus down and maybe get down to a couple of things. So 1, I'm not disappointing myself, and 2, that I'm realistically focusing my energy. So priorities and creativity and experimenting. And so, we all have tendencies to go, obviously, we recruit our strongest muscles first. So positivity is seeing possibility and hope in challenging situations, and confidence that, you engage your energy in appropriate in approaching challenges, that you have confidence you can actually manage the challenge or deal with the challenge. And then priorities, directing your energy to the top couple of things instead of just being scattered all over the place. And then being creative about generating new ideas and possibilities, connecting, drawing on other resources for support, and creating structure, kind of organization and discipline, and then experimenting, taking action in the face of uncertainty. And so I just want you to think a little bit about, like, what are your go-to things, and then what are the things that you don't use as well. And quite frankly, I'm an introvert, and I love to be with people and learn from people and engage with people, but ultimately I have to make sure that I am reaching out and asking for help. Like, I'm still not a business asset. So during this time, I've been a little around even with like the technology stuff, and so I'm really taking that opportunity to get better at that stuff that I would have successfully continued to avoid had we not been in this situation of disruption, right? And so I really am trying to work on strengthening some of my weaker muscles and making sure I'm not overusing, because we all know that sometimes when you overuse strong muscles, it ends up making the system weak as well. So, so again, we talked about positivity and confidence, recognizing and using your skills and abilities, priorities, and creativity, and connection, and structure, and experimenting. So I just encourage you to do the little self-assessment and see what you think you're weak and where you're strong, and maybe challenge you to work on strengthening a little bit more, and also being mindful that you do have these strong muscles that you can recruit to deal with this uncertainty during this time. So that's really kind of the background with resilience. So
that's great. So we've got the link, you guys, to the personal assessment that she's talking about. There's a resilience overview, and then there's another link that Jeannie's going to share, and that's the assessment overview. Kind of go through that on your own. It was also in the email that we sent pre-event. Just copy and paste those into your browser, so you can do that later. Also, if you want to save the chat, you can actually save this down as a file so that you can go back and see where some of these links are. But just right click or just click on the chat button that you have. And in the chat, all the way over, there's 3 dots next to file. You see it all the way over to the right. You can actually click that and then save chat, just so you know.
So one of the things I wanted to mention that is probably going to get put in the chat as well is that my friend Linda Hoops, who wrote that book, the book Prosilience, blah, 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 something, blah, 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 something about resilience in the turbulent world. She is offering you the opportunity to download it for free as an ebook. And so that link, I think, is going to wind up in the chat as well.
It's there
okay.
now. Yep.
Okay. So I just wanted to share that with you because it has a really great workbook in it. And so just encourage you to look at that.
That's great. Yeah, great stuff. If we have questions too for Dr. Nair, go ahead and put them in the chat, guys. We're going to move on to our next, and then hopefully, Megan, you're able to stay with us for a few minutes at the end as well. Great. Yeah. Super great. So we appreciate that. So I'll be taking a look at the chat as well. It is so important for us to be thinking about the ways that we're framing ourselves, approaching life, looking at the positivity. And it's like that old trick. If you smile a zillion times in a day, you'll start to believe it yourself. But these are these mental muscles and the way that we approach, attitude through change. Everyone's, going through these ups and downs. Okay. Next in the lineup, I'm really excited about this as we were looking to frame how we can stay mentally resilient and transition so that we're also physically and mentally prepared. We're kind of moving ourselves through a progression here. We've got Carla Helder and Michael McDowell who are going to present to us training through transition. I'm really excited to have a coach on here. So Carla, she is in a nutshell a land, air, and water facilitator, much like a modified air traffic officer, but for diving. On a more formal note, for those of you who don't know her, she's a fantastic, tremendous coach, actually an award-winning coach, currently coaching at SJSU, is also a founding co-owner of Old Dogs, New Tricks, fantastic program since 2008, and is a world and national champion. So I consider her a master's diving guru. And Michael is one of Carla's former divers with a major focus on making the sport of diving simple to teach and worth the learning at any age. I actually love his email. It says a forever sport, and that's true. So without further ado, Carla.
Hi, everybody. It's so good to see you here. I'm so excited. I'm going to start. I wrote up my speech, and like we do, segue from me setting up the properties and moving into Michael. I would like to give a shout out first to Lisa and Jerry for graciously asking us to be here so we can speak to these transitions. To Van Austin for the foundations that we'll discuss. To Mary Bennett. Mary, thank you for being persistent and pushing for master's clinics, which is where Old Dogs New Tricks came from. And finally to Michael McDowell for insisting on getting this information out onto paper so it's more functional. We're here together because we need to see and we need to hear each other. We love to socialize. It's one of our greatest assets, and it's something that we do really, really well. But we also love to combine that with our sport. So that this event should have happened today, where we all should have been sitting with a glass of wine in the bar asking how we're doing, it's delayed, but we're still here. The goalposts seem to be moving further and further down the calendar. But we're here to give you some of our thoughts to share in your diving, as well as some of the mechanics that you can try out at home carefully, please. And if you have a pool or you have a trampoline, again, carefully, have some fun working out these suggestions. In the style of ODNT, let's open up this timeline a little bit. Most of you should have been training for nationals and are probably moving towards a reduction in the number of dives that you're doing and a finer focus and tuning of some of those details, individual, of course, to your own diving, because we're all different. The rhythm and pacing of your training is transitioning, and it's going to transition for a while now. All of us are generally aware that diving is pacing and rhythm, as are many sports. But the added benefit of diving, climbing out of a pool, climbing up a ladder, climbing up to 10 meter, gives us a unique diving shape. This is kind of where this rhythm for returning into your actual placing your feet on the board, your actual physical bare feet. I'd like to address this. When you do this, you're going to infuse the diving board with your energy, using your ankles and your toes to create your jump. We all know that it's not just predicated on those two joints, but that's what we're going to address today. Here in a minute, excuse me, Michael will train you to an element that, as the battle-hardened athletes of this sport, with all of the adjustments that we make continually in our everyday lives to be able to dive, we tend to forget about the rhythm and pacing because of the drive and passion that brings us to the pool in the first place. And yes, we become 8 years old again. But by the time we can get to this opportunity to dive, your diving shape is going to be a little different, and we'll begin again to find the rhythm of our dives. And in this transitional time and where you were in the cycle of your training, we've already taken a step back. I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath. In a minute, Michael's going to ask you to get on your feet. Let's see if we can focus on some of these rhythmic movements that will not only fortify your jumps, allow you better transference of energy into the diving board, and build your confidence into the dive. So from the bottom up, Michael, I'm going to hand this over to you to build out this rhythm piece, and I look forward to seeing your questions at the end. So Michael? Where are you, Michael?
Thank you so much. I just want to do a quick shout out to Carla because it's on her graciousness that I'm able to be here today. And when Lisa reached out to Carla, Carla had mentioned me to join her, and I appreciate that. To all those who've done Old Dogs New Tricks, hello again. It's been a while, but it's really good to see a lot of your faces. To those of you who don't know me, I was Carla's former diver at the University of Buffalo, and we also started this thing that I thought was a one-time thing called Old Dogs New Tricks, but ended up going a lot farther than that. And I really appreciate everyone who participated in that because it really helped my coaching. Because over the last 13 years, for me, my goal has been simple. I wanted to make diving simple to teach from a coach's perspective and from an athlete's perspective, rewarding beyond the podium, that they're able to experience something beyond that first place because there's only one. So there's got to be something about the sport of diving, my sport that I love dearly, and I want to get back to one day, just to be able to have a reward of what that looks like. So for today, within the time frame that we have, it comes down to this simple piece. So if you're able, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to stand up right now. So if you're able, and you can kind of shift your computer screen or whatever, why don't you get on your feet right now. We're going to do a little bit of a deck drill for us today, because our piece for today is going to focus on something that's often overlooked, which is how we oscillate on the diving board for our back press. So we know the basic physics of a diving board. The more you oscillate, the more the diving board moves, and the more we want to move. And just like Carla had mentioned, our ankles and our toes play a huge factor in that. And during these times where we can't get on the diving boards, it gives us that quiet time at home to really isolate certain diving mechanics. So when we get back on the board, those little things that make a difference will be there. So when we start diving, it's going to be easier to transition. So if you're standing up right now, great. What I want you to do is I want you to get set for your back press. If you have to hold on to a wall or something, because we haven't been on the boards in a while, please do that. Don't want anyone falling over. So what I want you to do is I just want you to have your heels about 1/2 inch to 1 inch off the ground right now. So have your heels just 1/2 inch to 1 inch off. So like I said, the more the board moves, the more you want to move. So our basic idea is we work with All Dogs New Tricks is that we want basic 3 rocks. Your first one's going to be small. Your second one's going to be medium, and your third one's going to be the large. So right now, if you want to, with your heels 1/2 inch off the ground, lift up a little, and then come down, lift up medium, now come down, now lift up all the way, and then come down. Now, the nice thing about being off the boards right now is that we get to do this over and over again. And this little thing, whether I'm working with my old college divers at ECC, shout out Cats, whether I'm working with one of the college coaches, Stephanie Fleming, shout out to Stephanie. This works every single time because as the board moves more, we want to move more. And even though it's a minor thing, it can help keep you in the air, it can help flip you. So again, let's do it real quick one more time. So get to that place right now where you're standing, heels 1/2 inch to 1 inch off the ground. Now go up small, now come back down, now go up medium, now come back down, now go up large, maybe hold for a second, now come back down. So now this moment, everyone kind of come back to your seats, come back to the computer if you're standing up. But the idea behind this is that if you go really slow, you'll be able to isolate these movements. And on top of that, we want to know the difference as well. So a deck drill that you can do is the order that we did, small, medium, large. You can also do a crescendo, small, medium, large, medium, small. Maybe you want to start with large, large, medium, small, medium, large. Whatever combination you want to do, it's up to you. Our one request is this though, don't do 2 of the same rocks of the same height at once or after each other. So don't go small, medium, medium, because we want to reflect a little bit of what the diving board is doing. So when we build or change our different oscillations, that's going to help out a lot. So this is just a sampling of the little things we're going to be looking at, because over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be hosting 30-minute webinars for any of you who want to jump on and learn about the 5 major positions that we're going to be teaching in diving, some board rhythm and more, and then also just diving again, how to transition back into the sport. So if you're interested in doing that, to one of my sides of my head, one of them is the email. I'll also put it in the chat. It's aforeversport@gmail.com. But once again, our short little tip for today is when you're oscillating the diving board for your back press, using your toes to keep your balance, go small, medium, large, because that when you get on the diving boards, it'll prepare you to fly, flip fast, and enter the water well. So with that, Carla, once again, thank you. I love you, Carla. And back to you, Lisa.
All right, I got a couple of quick things. So one of the questions actually that Carla and Michael had chatted to me to share with all of you, please just answer in the chat as best as you can. We just kind of want to see a running total here. Does a coach give you his or her focused attention while you're diving at practice? Kind of a yes or no question. How focused do you feel? Maybe it's a yes, always have great coaching. Maybe it's kind of ishy, or no, not really. So do you have a lot of focus and attention, or are you kind of coaching on your own? So good to see that. Also, before we switch to David, and we are actually, we're decent on time. Carla and I were chatting, and she had said she even has some small things. You guys might want to bring this up in the chat later, additional tips and tricks, such as twisters. Are you twisting and rolling on the floor? Are you actually simulating some of these actions and trying these things at home? So there's a lot of tips and that if you stay in touch with Carla and stay in touch with Michael, they'll be able to give you. And I'd also say David Snively as well, some really good stuff. Jeff has been doing Zoom video tramp calls and some coaching. There's so many cool things that we can do out there. So what are we getting? We get, sometimes you have to coach yourself, a lot of TiVo doing. You can also do, share it with people, analyze, maybe they'll see something that you're not seeing. Might be another way to do it, you know, if you're trying to get that. And then also I would encourage you guys, maybe even team up and have an accountability group or so, you know, work on a training plan. Carla and Michael might be able to help you with that, as also some of the other coaches that we have on the line to help us come up with like those training plans. That's specifically what Old Dogs New Tricks is actually looking to do, is to help us if you want to get engaged, if we can actually get back on the boards in the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, how to start that now and the day-to-day activities that you can do. Did I cover that well enough, guys?
Oh, that was
You good?
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So let's go to our next speaker. And we've talked a little bit about, you know, just kind of where we're at mentally. And now let's talk a little bit more about fitness. So we brought in David. He was the first guy that I thought of. And actually I'd run across, you know, so many of his Facebook workouts and things that he'd been doing. And shame on me, because I didn't know all the stuff that all of you guys do, you know, and that's the thing. That's what we need to get more connected, because we're all professionals in some right. And I had no idea that David actually has been running his own professional fitness programs, and is the owner of his own company for 35 years. Like, he's a fitness expert. He's been doing amazing things. And when I finally tuned in, because I haven't done a workout on YouTube or anything since, I think my daughter, the grand year, was an infant. That's the last time that I had done anything on TV in my living room. I was just not paying attention. Oh my gosh, these guys, David has it down. So David, for those of you who don't know him, was a member of Canada's 1980 Olympic team and a 7-time Canadian diving champion in the late 70s and early 80s. David has been a leader in the fitness industry for over 36 years, presenting workshops to aspiring fitness instructors worldwide, hosting 2 TV shows in 1989 to 2004, Great Shape and Caribbean Workout, and he owns DBS Fitness Concepts in Montreal, a high-end training studio. David returned to the diving world after a 30-year layoff. That's where so many of us are. 30 years off the boards in 2014, competing first at the USA Masters Diving Championships in 2016. He has won a total of 10 medals at the FINA World Masters Championships 2017 and 2019, including 5 gold. And for those of you who have dived in a Masters Championship with David, you know that he graces the skies. So without further ado, David.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I got back to the diving in 2014, and my first Masters event was Orlando in 2016. And anyways, I was just blown away by how welcoming the USA diving community was. And if I wasn't already hooked, like, I'm hooked for life. And I have clients say all the time, you know, shouldn't you be stopping all that crazy stuff? And I'm like, I'm never stopping, because I'll just modify as I go along. So as Lisa mentioned, yes, I've been in the fitness industry a long time. Out of diving, I got into it. And because I came from diving and then I got back into diving, I mean, I learned a lot over the years and taken a lot of workshops and stuff. But my philosophy has always been on training the body from a functional perspective in terms of what your body has to accomplish day to day. That you have to push and pull and bend and lunge and squat and lift, and you have to absorb forces. Like when we hit the water, we have to absorb the force of hitting the water, and we have to be able to generate force and jump and explode. And so it's like that in life, and it's like that in diving, and diving is obviously has its specific challenges. But that's sort of where I've come from, along with a lot of the stuff I've learned with regards to taking courses from guys who trained Olympic athletes to taking courses, 40-week courses with physiotherapists, and just melding all that information in my little head over these years. So one thing that, having listened to Megan speak in terms of resilience is that the thing that I did, I closed March 15th, I closed my business, and it's going to be closed for a while up here. They're very strict here in Canada with regards to the guidelines and what we're doing. But the one thing I started right away was with structure. And I had done TV quite a bit, but hadn't done anything really on camera for a long time. And I immediately started teaching classes, virtual classes online. And it was really focused towards my clientele. I have a very fit clientele and a lot of clients my age. I'm turning 60 this summer. So that's sort of how those workouts are geared. But having connected with Lisa with regards to the workouts online, we started talking about this event, and I just said, look, I've done a lot of different things on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and I am more than happy. It's all free and it's all there. To share that with you. I realize that everybody is at different fitness levels, and everybody has different strengths and weaknesses, and everyone has lived a life that has brought their body to this point, and they have to work within those confines and follow medical advice, etc. But I just wanted to open up anything that I have to offer, and I'm going to be doing a lot more virtual stuff because it is something I need to do moving forward, because the world is going to be a different place. So that's sort of where I'm coming from. I do have a YouTube channel. Everything is free, and it's called, all the links are going to come up. But on that YouTube channel, David Snively, DBS Fitness, there are many little short videos, and there's 3 longer ones that are 30 minutes in length, and they are TRX suspension training workouts. Probably most of you are familiar with the TRX suspension trainer, but it's straps with handles that you can hang from a tree outside, or there's a door anchor. And so on that YouTube channel, there are 3 different workouts that have been up there for quite a while. And one is upper body, one is lower body, and one is core. So right there, if you have a TRX suspension trainer, and their motto is make your body your machine, which I love, and stand up to train, and all core all the time. So you're using the straps to either facilitate an exercise or to increase the intensity of an exercise. And they have great resources on their website, but I do have those 3 workouts there that anybody could follow if they have a TRX suspension trainer. And then I also have a lot of videos on there that are short, like 5 exercises. And there's one for shoulder prehab to get good thoracic rotation and good thoracic mobility, so that it takes the stress off your shoulders and your neck. And there's a core plank challenge with different core planks. And I did those videos right before the Pan Ams in Orlando. I remember doing them in the park. There's no equipment workouts. There's little workouts with dumbbells, stability ball workouts, all kind of stuff that you can do at home right now. And so when this all happened, like obviously there's no going to the pool now. And I just really wanted to not only help my clients and just put stuff out there to help people, but I really want to be able to go back to diving and feel like I can kind of not go back to where I was immediately, but that I can get back in there and tolerate the stresses of diving. So a lot of different links that you're going to get on that YouTube channel. And then the other thing that I've been doing since this all came down was I have a program at my business called Epic, and it is a program with all these different kinds of workouts. So I call them all epic. And every single day, Monday through Saturday, I give 3 different workouts. They're live and they're Eastern Standard Time, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, but they live on the Instagram feed. I'll tell you, you'll see the different Instagram channels, but they live on the Instagram feed for 24 hours. So you could do them anytime you want, no matter where you live. The first one at 8:30 is a strength workout, and it's either lower body, it's upper body, it's core, it's total body, and it uses dumbbells, mini bands, pretty much that's about it. So stuff that you can easily, you can grab soup cans. If you don't have mini bands, you can do almost every exercise as well. So there's a strength workout. And then at 9:30, I do something called epic cardio with another focus, or epic conditioning. And that is really more endurance focused, but they're just simple drills where you're stepping sideways, jumping, stepping back. You're moving your body through different planes of motion, challenging your body in space, basically raising your heart rate, getting more conditioned, increasing your functional capacity and your tolerance, jumping if you're able to do that. There's about 25 minutes of cardio and there's about 20 minutes of some kind of strength focus. And that as well changes every day. It could be cardio core, cardio upper body, cardio lower body, cardio glutes, cardio, etc. So that's another workout. So there's strength at 8:30 or the first hour, there's cardio and some strength aspect the second hour. And then the third hour I call epic release. And it is, I wouldn't say it's yoga, but there are those kinds of movements. And again, my whole thought process in epic release, it's more of a mobility, stability workout is, I need my ankles to move well. I know I need my hips to move really well, because if my hips move really well and my ankles move really well, I can A, generate more force, and B, there's much less stress on my low back and much less stress on my knees. There's focus on thoracic mobility in the workout. There's focus on core stability, the lumbar spine being stable, the knee being stable, the neck being stable, exercises where we have the head in retraction against gravity, and focusing on lengthening the back of the neck that typically becomes shortened, etc. So that's called epic release. And that is the third hour of exercise. So every day, Monday through Saturday, I do these 3 different workouts. They're on Instagram, at my Instagram page at David Snively, or also at DBS Fitness is another Instagram page. I use 3 iPads when I film, so I actually go on 3 different social platforms. And then they're also on my Facebook page, David Blake Snively, and I will befriend anyone who is not already my friend. And they live right now forever on my Facebook page. So I haven't actually named them, but you kind of have to scroll down and kind of look at what the format is. I should go back and name them all, and I just realized that I should do that, and I will. But so anyways, that's sort of how this came about. I obviously, don't know your specific situation in terms of fitness, where you are, and what you need to work on specifically. But from a general fitness perspective, and from, I'm always thinking about how it can help me do what I love to do when I'm not at work, which is diving. I just wanted to put that out there for all of you and welcome you to take any of those workouts and do them, or maybe hit me up and ask me some questions about what you think would be best for you. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. So guys, there are a ton of workout videos. Yeah, play with reactions. If that was awesome, just hit, can you see how I did that? Hit reactions and you can hit thumbs up and claps. Those are fun little things. Actually, there are several different links that went out in the chat that David had shared with us. And there's a Google Doc that's in there that I will throw into a post-event email so we can make sense, of all the links and the resources that several of our speakers have shared. That has all of those workouts by, body segment that David is talking about. They're all there, including the Instagram information. So we took them from the info that he had shared with me. And we'll kind of keep you updated. And if you have others that you're working with, I've seen some really good ones in the chat, put them in there, throw them in the chat so that we do have those, we can save them down, because that is part of the fun is trying something new and to seeing what other divers are doing. I know I've had to modify a lot of the workouts that I've done. and just looking at, what I've done either on YouTube or that I've shared with, been playing with others, because I know that I need to be able to point my toes quickly, and I need that reaction. I can't flex my feet for everything, because then I will have zero connection with the board when I get back. It's things like that. So, we have to be smart about what we can modify and things too. Before we go into our next segment and a lot of the Q&A, if our speakers are able to stay for, a few more minutes with us too, I would like to open it back up to you guys kind of as a panelist, and see how you might respond to some of these things. But managing expectations, we didn't have that much time to be able to talk with this, but each of you individually has talked with me about managing expectations and kind of where to start. So if we're going from, hey, we were training, to, oh my God, I can't even get into a gym and I'm lucky if I can run around the block, to then being able to get back on the board. Part of the reason that I thought this call might be helpful for all of us is that if you're in a situation like me too, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be frustrated when I get back. I won't be as strong. I won't be as mentally prepared. How can I get out of that feeling and into one of confidence? So someone like me too might be thinking, okay, that's it. I've just now got to really work out hard. I'm going to tackle this and I'm going to get all my dives off, and then I might actually get hurt. So let's start with Carla on that one. And can you give us your take on managing expectations once we get back in?
That's a good one, because I'm still kind of land bound, and I have been walking probably anywhere between 6 and 8 miles a day with my sister, and she has knee issues as well. What a surprise, we're all in the family. But we're finding out where those limitations are, and it's very, very important, because if you have been training and you are in good shape before this shutdown happened, you're going to want to pick back up, because that makes sense to you. You're ready to do that, and your body kind of feels like it's ready to do that. Take it slow. There is no problem just taking things slow, starting on the lower end, and bringing things back up. I think these webinars that Michael and I are going to do will be able to build you up slowly, so you can pay attention to body parts, how they're supposed to move, when they're supposed to move, and more importantly, why they're supposed to move when they're supposed to move. That's one of the things that we find as we get older, and I hate to tell everybody this, but that's where we're all going, is things you used to do 2 months ago or 3 years ago is going to change. And it's our job and our responsibilities as movers of our body to understand how we move and where we're supposed to be moving, and not force it. Because if we do, we end up seeing doctors and calling up George McGann for his shoulder surgeon. So, it's just being very aware. Even though they tell us, as we did when we were younger, be aware, look at what's going on around you. Now we get to turn it inside and be aware of what's going on inside.
Taking the drills, taking the time. I'm hoping I might be able to rewrite my crappy back twister action. Just maybe that taper might have really worked. I'm thinking that.
Oh, good. Yes. The things that had been said earlier, and I think David brought it up, and it triggered a point, is modeling. Modeling through the phases of our approaches, and then taking those pieces out and going through a whole movement. Using a metronome, I have found, is very important. Use it with the kids when we're going through the modeling process, as well as breathing. Taking in that opportunity to teach the breathing with the modeling.
How about the idea of watching the YouTube diving? I've been watching the FINA World Championships and things, and then I try to play synchronized diver with them from my living room and get into the rhythm with them, and thinking, oh my goodness, that front 3.5 pike looks so easy, but it's that kind of concept, right?
What? It's a way to visualize. It's a way to follow in. My only reservation would be make sure that your rhythm and pacing matches somebody who's you're watching. You have to know, which is why it's so interesting when we go to these meets and everybody pairs up and they want to win gold medals, and we just have a great time trying to figure out how to match people. I matched up with somebody in Florida one time, and it was not a good choice. So you got to know who you're working with, even if it's on video.
Yeah, that's true. David, how about you about managing expectations and, you know, kind of a where to start if you're not in the greatest shape that you want to be?
Yeah, well, if I had 6 weeks, you know, I don't like to back down from stuff. So, and I have a pretty heavy list, but I know, but since I've been back, I've had a few major injuries, and like 2014 World Championships, 2 weeks before, I ripped my calf and like literally tore it off the bone. So I pushed myself too hard before, and I know that I love diving. So I think that there's a few important things that we can do, and Jeff brought it up in the chat earlier, is visualization. I think that, first of all, just physically walking through your dives, you know, doing a hurdle, not jumping, but just doing your hurdle, and then going through the motions physically in terms of what you need to, you know, I know I don't get my arms up high enough in front 2.5, so I'm just sort of modeling through my dives. And that could be done on a daily basis, 5 of each, just like you were practicing. And then also any kind of breathing, like this one thing, I do some breathing drills in the epic release, but any kind of breathing, diaphragmatic breathing is amazing. And then combining that with visualization, and visualizing your dives is extremely beneficial, so that they're right there in your head when you go back. So you're dealing with the physical aspect, and that's one thing that, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I know when I first go back to diving, when I had a layoff, I can't believe how hard it is. Like I didn't seem like this hard, you know, 4 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago. But you know, you build up your tolerance quite quickly, obviously, because you've done it in the past. But I think visualization could help, walking through your dives prior to when we get back on the boards, and then just knowing when to say, okay, I've had enough today. And I had a good, you know, I got some stuff done, and I'm going to come back tomorrow or the next time I can get back in there and just do a little bit more. And knowing what the end result is, you love to dive and you want to be at that competition and see your friends and enjoy the experience.
Yeah, to that point, we've come up with a really, really insightful saying over at the Natadors, which is some is better than none.
Yeah.
And we literally live by it. On the days that you think that either, you know, you just can't get there, do show up, just do something. And if you have to reframe your expectations, you reframe it. You come into workout thinking, that's it, I'm doing full lift 3 meter. And then you realize that it's a complete off day and you're down to tuck dives, but some is better than none. So just stay in it to win it, right?
Look, at our age, you have to go with the flow, right? There are days you walk in feeling tired, you have a great practice. But I always say, just start and then be a grown up. It's very hard to be a grown up. I've had enough.
It's true. How about Megan, before we go into general chat? Megan, do you have any comments on managing expectations?
Good.
There we go.
Oh, thanks. Well, I think Carla and David spoke well about it. The managing expectations thing, again, it's that really looking at that delta between your expectations and reality, and this is where the disruption happens, right? Like our wishes and our hopes. And I would give anything to get up and be able to jump on a trampoline right now, but I would be a garage sale of body parts. And so I really, David, I actually look forward to looking at some of your videos and just because I agree that imagery, but when just some points about imagery, do it as vividly as possible. You don't always have to just see it, but move, you know, do the dive, the modeling. So not everybody's great at seeing themselves dive. If you can watch video of yourself, that's a really good way of doing imagery, and then move with the video. I really encourage people to do imagery sitting up or standing up, because this is not a good position in diving, right? So you know, it doesn't help with our kinesthetic awareness when we're visualizing laying down, which a lot of people have probably been taught laying down. You want to be able to control the image. So even if you can do like segments, like just the top or stretching for the entry, you don't necessarily, again, have to go through the whole thing, but see the really critical parts, like, you know, the hurdle, or, you know, the press, or the reach, or, you know, the out. And so just understand that you can do it in segments. And so I just encourage you to, you know, be gentle with yourself, because, you know, whether it's this situation or the reality that time marches on and, you know, marches across our face as well, that there is going to be some loss of function. And so just kind of like starting to get at peace with that, and not expecting yourself to be able to do what you did when you were, you know, 20, 30, 40, whatever. So just getting at a little more peace with that. You know, my coach, Ron O'Brien, used to say there are 3 things athletes have to deal with, and that's frustration, adversity, and failure. And frustration over the years that I've been working with people is probably the thing that gets in the way of their progress the most. They get frustrated, and so then they get into the, you know, kind of that limbic emotional part of their brain. They can't think, they can't stay present. And so David talked about the breathing, which I think is hugely important. I think if you're doing breathing and stretching on a day-to-day basis, like I love yoga. And so, and I don't mean pretzel yoga. I don't mean stick it in your ear yoga, you know, your leg in your ear. I'm just talking about gentle breathing and stretching. And that just goes a long way to down regulating that emotional part of the brain that's going, man, this sucks. I'm really frustrated. And, you know, the more that you can do that on a day-to-day basis, but just be mindful. You don't have to be able to see dives perfectly in your head. You can move with them, watch videos, move with them. And if you never get great at seeing yourself in your own mind's eye, that's not a problem.
Awesome. That's such good advice. I was just thinking, if anyone else is in the same boat as me, if I were to have a GoPro on my head during the middle of a double twisting 1.5, I'd probably never dive again. So Jeff, I don't know how you do it. I don't want to see. I just need my eyes to roll back. How about let's you know, open it up to the rest of the group. What sort of things are you guys doing? What's working for you at home? Maybe, you know, put it into the chat. And Jerry's got a raised hand, so let's see what Jerry had to say.
I see somebody said Tai Chi, and I love Tai Chi too. I think any kind of that movement, meditation, the yoga, the Tai Chi, really super fabulous for those of us who aren't 16 anymore.
That great morning, did a GoPro on a 5142? Oh my God.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we do have to manage expectations, and we should have more than one list. I mean, it talks about the progression of things. You know, masters diving became so much more fun for me when I stopped chasing the DD, and I just figured out if I could do an easier dive better. Ultimately, I score better. I have more fun. It's not pushing my physical limits. So, you know, get over the DD part, you know, and especially when you're getting back, start with simpler dives, start with required dives for those of you who remember what they were. And, you know, I think it is just much better to deal with. You all remember back in Montreal, I think I told everybody that you have to dumb down your dives. And just like the World Championships where the judging is just crazy, you have to dumb down your dives when you get back into things. Just start slowly, get your rhythm, get your timing. Don't stress your joints. And then as you get back into shape, I mean, then you can push things a little bit. It's as masters, we don't train every day. We're learning every day. Our muscles are trying to maintain that muscle memory. It's not like when we were in age group.
Yeah, so true. Any other thoughts out there? What are you guys doing? Things, home gym. Jennifer, tell me, Jennifer, why don't you tell us how that's going?
Goodness.
Okay, you're up.
Oh my goodness. So I work out at home every day. I have my own home gym in my garage. I set everything out. I don't have just tons and tons of equipment, but I have quite enough to get a lot done. I work out, usually I'll do at least one workout a day with David Snively, just because I love the way he does his progressions. I love you, David. And so I'll work out, usually I'll just pick whichever body part I need that day. Some days I do the epic release with him. Some days I do other things, depends on where we are in our cycle. But I also, I am by our club team, I am teaching upper body, core, and back 3 days a week. So I have to do that on Facebook Live. So I set up my phone in my garage and I do all that with the kids on Facebook Live 3 days a week. And then I do other workouts as well. And it's partly because I'm bored out of my mind. So the only thing I have going is that I can work out, like nobody can stop me. So I just keep working out in my home gym. And it's fun and it makes the time pass and gives me something to do. And seeing David every day is fun because it's someone that I'm familiar with and I love very dearly. And so I feel like I'm working out together with him even though we're not together. So that's been really what's kept my sanity right now, because my college coaching job, we're not coaching. My club coaching job, we're not seeing the kids. And my theater job is non-existent right now. So I have no other job right now. So this is what I do all day.
Oh my God. It's so true. Yeah. So Jeannie had just put into the, if you, have something to contribute and want to, raise your hand, essentially, just put it into the chat and then we'll unmute you. But I'm curious to see, other things. So I personally think that, when we take on new things, we're also able to put ourselves into a better mindset because it builds our confidence in other ways. And then it reminds you when you get back onto the boards, as well, how we're doing. For example, I'd love to know what you guys are learning at home. I heard sewing, gardening. I've taken on some new skills and new certifications. This is my first virtual meeting. So this is something that we're learning how to do together. And that's been an ongoing thing as physical meetings for me have taken a huge tanker, obviously, with our industry. So what are you guys doing? I'm looking in the chat here. I see we got tramp beds, who's making dream catchers. Awesome. Lots of Pilates. Super fun. Sourdough starters. Okay, I think we're going to have like a whole resource list of fun things for people to do. Cooking, focusing on mental health, eating. Actually, I heard a friend say, the only thing that I'm having a hard time with the social distancing is from my refrigerator. I thought that was pretty cute. Napping. Awesome. Another question too. I know we had some good stuff there. I wanted to also ask you guys if you have resources for meets that might be happening later in the year. Maybe there's one, maybe it's August, September, October, November. I know East Coast has got some things. If you have any local meets that you might be able to help share, more of us might be interested in going and using them as kind of a mile marker. There's a chance that we may not have an opportunity to have a Masters Championship this year, but we probably still all want to dive and meet up. So I know I'm trying to see if I can get even a camp with maybe like a little mini type, intra-squad meet at Mission, if we might be able to see what the schedule looks like with Michelle. But if anybody's doing camps, anybody's doing, anything cool, please let us know. So more of us might say, hey, let's go. So George, I'm not seeing him in here. We've got multiple screens. But George, do you still on track for the Mary Bennett meet?
Am I on mute? Am I off mute?
No, you're good. Yeah, we got you.
Okay, so we just had a conversation. Our pool is closed until hopefully only September. They're doing repairs. They're taking this opportunity to do repairs on the pool bottom. So we're still looking at either the second weekend in November or the weekend before Thanksgiving. So hopefully that'll come. We were kind of hoping we could have it earlier, if maybe in September when the weather was still nice, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to plan it in time. So,
well, I think it'd be great if you know, as you're posting, you know, share some of the stuff. Let's put that out for everybody. Now, I think not everybody's on Facebook and not everybody's on, you know, East Coast Masters Diving or Westpac and all the various ones that we have. So if we can try to get those out through Masters Diving, maybe, you know, this year, that might be a way that we can kind of stay targeted, you know, to some degree as well. So that'd be great. You know, if anybody else, I heard Gray Morning had one. There's a Pan Pacifics going on in Australia. Did you want to, yeah?
That's in November.
It's in November?
Yeah. So hopefully things will be opened up by then.
Yeah. Yeah, and be able to see, you know, and it looks like everything else has been moved back. I'm going to pull Jerry back in. Jerry, we had, there were updates too for Japan, and I know all those things seem to be pushed around. Do you have the latest updates on some of the other international events?
Yeah, I mean, everything's on hold, and you know, there aren't any meets at this point in time moving forward. AAU canceled their meet, and they were hoping not to have to do that. So I think everybody's in the same boat, and no matter how much we want it, you know, it's not going to come any faster. I don't even think at this point in time there's enough information out there to allow anyone to make decisions, and that's part of the problem.
Did we see that that the FINA games, though, that were planned for 2021, are those still on track in Japan, or was that pushed? Do you know?
No,
again, same answer.
FINA wants everything to go on as planned. Supposedly they're going to move forward, but the dates are going to be, you know, they might change based upon where the Olympics are going to fall. It's honestly just a bit of a mess right now. So we're waiting to try to determine. Also on some of those other meets, I mean, Pan Pacific right now, they are on, but that's also subject to change. And it is in November. It's down on the Gold Coast of Australia. But any of these other meets internationally, you just have to be aware that, you know, and I think that Steve can confirm this, but you might go all the way down to Australia, and in each event, you may only do 4 dives or 5 dives because they have a different setup than we have. So, you know, that it's a lot of money to pay to go down and do 4 dives and hang loose. But I think that we'll continue to report as we get more information on what we may be able to do. You know, we'll make sure that everyone's aware of opportunities to dive. I know all the coaches are really itching to get on the calendar, but you know, no one wants to do it until they know that they're able to. You know, the Mary Bennett meet, I'd love nothing more than to make that a highlight. And once again, we just have to make sure that, you know, we have the dates down and, you know, things move forward with the New Jersey pool, and they do open on time. I mean, we don't know if any repairs are going according to schedule. That's part of the issue too with this
right.
downturn.
Yeah, we just had a couple of questions. People are asking about the AAU meets as well. We know that the red, white, and blue had been canceled, but not the nationals. And isn't it true that if you're 18 plus, you can dive in those events? You can, but it also depends on the specific meet. The meet managers have to have that event added. So usually in AAU, it's 20 plus. And so you might be in with a bunch of kids, but there was no greater satisfaction I've ever had than to take bronze at an AAU meet where the coaches started yelling at their kid that an old guy beat you. But it's a great meet.
I'll be talking to Joe Cherico. I spoke with him 2 days ago, and he said that everything's up in the air. They don't want to cancel it because, you know, if we can make it happen, they're going to make it happen. But, you know, I would say around June 1st, we'll have a much better idea of what the rest of the year is going to look like.
Yep. All right. Well, there's another topic that we wanted to bring up before we close in the next couple of minutes, and that was with the nominations. Did you want to touch on that, Jer?
Sure. You know, it's that time of the year. Lisa, Ron, and I have served our 2-year terms. So we have to elect officers. I think I had sent it out in a couple of the emails that if you had nominations for chairman, for vice chairman, and there's 2 vice chairman positions, you can send them to Eric Bomberger. And I think Lisa said that she's going to set up a some sort of interactive poll where you can respond back to who you might like to see nominated. You know, and the second issue is what happens if we don't have a summer championship? And right now, the way our rules are set up, you know, we have to wait until the following championship. So we're working on, you know, putting together a new charter that would allow for online voting for our elections if needed. And I'm hoping that, you know, we never need it, but we can't do that until we vote it in. And that'll be on the agenda at the next business meeting, be it in July or be it in April, May of next year.
Yeah. So in the chat, guys, you will see a link to the nomination form. It's open for a while. It's, you know, it's not something that you have to rush and do today. You can do it more than once if you have other people. Also, there's an opportunity if you have a skill and you can contribute on one of the committees, whether it's you know, meat operations, historian. We have a lot of different positions that are needed because we're all a volunteer organization. So if you want to get involved and want to help out with, you know, some of the things, whether it's on site at events or behind the scenes, even with communications and things, let us know. So that's one of the places that we, you know, be able to start. So there is an opportunity to submit. And you can also submit your own name. It's okay to nominate yourself, put you on the ballot. You may not be the only one, you know, who's there, and we'll get those ballots ready for when we can do the next election, you know, how that needs to go.
And Lisa, just to let people know, the way our rules are set up, you know, you can run for any position, you can hold the position, but you cannot serve for more than 2 consecutive terms. So that means that, you know, I am not going to be able to run for chairman again. You know, if I'm needed, I'm happy to be vice chair. I enjoy the hell out of making this organization work and, you know, the people involved with it. So make sure that, you know, if you want to get involved, respond to Lisa. If you're not sure if you want to get involved, respond to any of us. I mean, there's a place or a thing that you can do, and you let us know how much time you have, how much you want to get involved. We're not going to make it onerous. I mean, we're going to make it so it's fun, and we want you to stay involved.
Yeah, totally. So we will have a follow-up email with several of the links. I know that Megan just put one of hers as a file in there for the building blocks. We'll follow up with all those, you know, those key points. We have one last poll before we close. So I'm hoping that Jeannie can launch that one for us. Okay, so after this call, I feel great. I've got some new tips and tricks, better than I did before the call. Same, no change. Same, I got more questions. Worse than before the call. And finally, oh my God, this was lame.
If anyone pushes, oh my God, this is lame, I'm going to be really pissed off. And you know what, while they're getting the results of the poll, kudos to Lisa. I mean, Lisa said she wanted to do a Zoom call with everybody, and Ron and I were like, really? I mean, I don't know if that's such a great idea, but you know, this just went swimmingly, and to get that, to get the communication from all of our European buddies that they want to be on the call, and maybe we do the next one earlier. You know, that was really, really fantastic to hear. You know, the guest speakers, Megan, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing with us. And Carla and Michael, you guys are just fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
And David,
Thanks to you
David,
all.
sorry, I didn't mean to.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much, guys. And if you continue to have either ideas, if you want to see us do more of these things, we've got, you know, we can bring in other speakers. We can, you know, play with different types of chats. Our teams, we've been doing happy hours, you know, like every other Wednesday or so, and we just get together and just kind of share. And, you know, you bring your favorite beverage to the call. There's lots of ways to get connected, and, you know, so we encourage you to, you know, encourage you to do that as much as possible. With that, I would love to say thank you, everyone, for logging in. We had 75 of us on this call today, which is really pretty awesome. And thanks to Jeannie for helping us with the facilitation too.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Yeah. And with that said, guys, we will hopefully see you on the boards and see you in more calls going forward. Hope to hear from you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Love you guys.